Have you ever wondered if there's, a secret formula to success? A hidden blueprint for manifesting your deepest desires? What if one book, written over a century ago, held a key so powerful it was whispered to be, foundational, even secretly passed around to places like Silicon Valley?
We're taking a deep dive today into precisely that kind of text, The Master Key System by Charles F. Haanel. And this isn't just another self-help book, the kind that offers fleeting advice. It's really a profound exploration of mind consciousness and what many believe are the actual mechanics of creation itself.
Right.
It's about understanding these fundamental laws, the ones that govern our reality, and figuring out how we can consciously engage with them.
That's right. And for you, our listeners of the Deep Seek Diaries, this deep dive is pretty essential. It offers a foundational look into principles that, they underpin so much of modern personal development and success literature. It's not just about surface-level tips. It's about grasping the core mechanisms, right? Our mission today is to help you gain that knowledge quickly but thoroughly, uncovering those aha moments that genuinely shift your perspective on what's possible. We'll be looking at what's inside the book, what thousands of people are saying about its impact, and what it might actually mean for you on your own path to personal mastery. Okay, before we go on and try to unlock the secrets of the Master Key System, just a quick note. If you're finding value in this deep dive, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and like this video. You're listening to the Deep Seek Diaries, and you can find us on all the major social media platforms, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, you name it. You'll also find all the resources we're discussing today, including the book itself, relevant websites, and more, linked conveniently right there in the description.
Please do take a moment to review our terms and conditions as soon as you can. Now settle in and let's begin this fascinating journey. So, with that powerful hook, it's clear this book claims some profound power. But who is the mind behind it? Let's start by digging into Charles F. Haanel's background. What kind of person authored something reportedly so impactful?
Yeah, what's truly fascinating here is that Haanel wasn't primarily a philosopher, in the traditional academic sense. And he wasn't exactly a spiritual guru as we might think of them today either. Charles F. Haanel was, a very successful businessman, born in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and he built this really substantial career over in St. Louis. He famously resigned from an established, pretty lucrative position to strike out entirely on his own. And incredibly, he eventually founded one of the largest conglomerates of his time. Think about that for a second.
Wow.
A man building a massive industrial empire from scratch. Someone dealing with tangible assets, complex logistics, high-stakes decisions every single day.
So this wasn't some abstract musing then, or some esoteric theory cooked up in an ivory tower. It was a distillation of principles he actually used to build a real-world empire. That's quite the endorsement, isn't it? It really gives his work a unique credibility, especially for a book about practical success and manifestation.
Right.
It suggests his methods were born not just from theory, but from, rigorous real-world application and immense personal achievement.
Precisely. Yeah. The Amazon page actually highlights that he put into books the ideas and methods he used to gain his success. So it wasn't just a passion project or some intellectual exercise for him. It was essentially sharing the very playbook that allowed him to achieve such significant material results. And besides the Master Key System, which he first published back in 1917, he also authored Mental Chemistry and The New Psychology.
Okay.
This consistency across his works points to a sustained, deep-seated focus on the profound power of the mind and thought processes. It shows this wasn't a one-off thing for him, but a dedicated, long-standing exploration of these principles.
And that description of him as a man of mature judgment, capable of taking a calm survey of life and correctly valuing its opportunities, its possibilities, its demands and obligations, that paints a very specific picture. It suggests someone grounded, pragmatic, someone who didn't just dream up theories, but seems to have deeply understood the practicalities of life and how to navigate them successfully, profitably even. It adds a significant layer of reassurance, doesn't it? That his system comes from a place of considered experience, not just speculation, makes you trust the source a bit more readily.
It certainly does. It speaks to a mind that approached life with a clear, analytical, almost scientific perspective, really, and likely applied that same rigor to developing his system. Now, let's briefly touch on the physical book itself and its presence in the modern market, because, accessibility is key for our listeners. This particular edition we're looking at is a paperback, published by Merchant Books back in 2013, and it's quite concise, actually. Comes in at around 116 pages.
That accessibility is huge, right?
Yeah.
Across different formats, different price points. That's incredibly important for you, our listeners, who might want to dive in immediately.
Knowing it's available for just a few pounds for a used copy or instantly on Kindle for practically pennies, that makes it very approachable. Anyone curious can explore its teachings without a big upfront investment. Indeed. And for those who prefer listening, it's also available as an audiobook, often at no cost with certain memberships, which really opens it up to a wider audience, caters to different learning styles. There's also a hardcover option for those who prefer a more durable physical copy.
Right.
It's a compact book, easily portable, not some daunting tome that'll take up half your backpack. And the fact that it's categorized within health, family, and lifestyle, specifically under psychology and psychiatry and popular psychology, and even ranks highly in practical and motivational self-help, that really places it firmly in the realm of personal growth and self-improvement literature. This isn't
Okay, so we've laid the groundwork on Haanel and the book's presence. Now, let's look at what truly sets this book apart. The reviews hint that this is far more than just another, law of attraction guide. What is it that makes it so much deeper? What is Haanel truly getting at here with its core philosophy?
Yeah, this raises a really important question. What is the core philosophical engine of the Master Key system? One reviewer, Friendly Card, asserts it's far deeper and more important than simple cosmic ordering or even the more popularized versions of the law of attraction. They state it's told as if it is an absolute law of physics. This isn't just about wishing for things, it's presenting a fundamental mechanism of existence, a profound underlying truth about how reality is structured.
Like gravity or something.
Kind of, yeah. At its heart, Haanel's approach, which this reviewer links directly to the work of the New Thought pioneer Thomas Trode, posits that the universe is governed by an overarching creative process. This implies a universal, systematic way in which reality comes into being. And crucially, Haanel suggests we, as individuals, can understand and consciously participate in it. It's about being a co-creator, not just a passive observer.
So Haanel calls this universal consciousness, right, which is distinct from Trode's term spirit. Why is that distinction important for understanding this overarching creative process or how we're meant to interact with it? Does it really change the fundamental concept?
It's a subtle distinction, but I think it's significant. It speaks to Haanel's pragmatic approach. The reviewer explains that neither Haanel nor Trode refers to God in a traditional sort of anthropomorphic religious sense. Instead, this universal mind, whether you call it universal consciousness or spirit, is described as an essentially impersonal subjective force equivalent to the subconscious rather than the conscious in the human mind.
Okay, that's a key clarification.
It really is. It's not a deity to be worshipped or prayed to or appeased. It's a profound underlying force, more akin to a highest law of nature, a law of creativity, than to a deity. And the implication here is huge. You don't worship it, you learn to align yourself with it, much like you align yourself with gravity or electromagnetism to get a desired outcome.
Makes sense.
The term universal consciousness is deemed more apt by the reviewer because spirit might carry, connotations of the occult, which they're clear wasn't the author's intent. Haanel's aim was to present something that feels more scientific, more like a natural law, not mystical or supernatural. It grounds the concept in something that seeks to be universally understandable and applicable, regardless of your religious beliefs. It sort of demystifies the process, making it accessible through understanding, not just faith alone.
That makes a lot of sense for a businessman like Haanel, and certainly for the kind of practical mindset we associate with places like Silicon Valley, where, measurable outcomes and systems are paramount. So if this universal consciousness is an impersonal law, how does this grand universal process connect to us as individuals? How do we, as, mere mortals, tap into this seemingly immense creative force and become active participants?
Right. Haanel argues that everyone's subconscious is a part of the universal consciousness. This is the bridge. This is the mechanism through which the individual connects to this vast, impersonal creative force. Our subconscious minds, in his system, aren't isolated entities. They're a direct conduit, a localized expression of this universal consciousness. This connection, he claims, grants the individual access to great creative power in any aspect of life. It's not just about attracting wealth, though that's a common desire people have. It extends to any area, your health, your relationships, your personal fulfillment, professional success. It suggests this power isn't external or rare or granted only to a select few. It's inherently within each of us because our subconscious minds are part of this universal fabric. The power is already inside you, just waiting for conscious direction.
And the direct implication, then, is that everything we experience in our external world, every circumstance, every achievement, every challenge, every limitation, it originates within our minds first. That's a bold claim. It puts an enormous amount of responsibility and, frankly, power onto the individual. That's a massive paradigm shift for most people, isn't it?
Exactly. The core thesis that Haanel asks you to accept, to truly embody, is that anything that manifests in your external world has been manifested first in the inner world of your mind. This means your thoughts, your beliefs, your subconscious patterns, your inner visualizations. These are the primary architects of your outer reality. It's not just about positive thinking. It's about understanding thought as a creative force, a blueprint.
Right.
The entire purpose of the system, then, is to provide you with the tools and the discipline to learn how to discipline your inner world, in other words, to channel your thinking so that inner creation is positive. This isn't a passive process of just hopeful wishing. It's an active, disciplined, ongoing effort to consciously direct the creative power of your mind. It's the fundamental premise the book asks you not just to intellectualize, but to truly accept and embody if you want to see the transformative results it promises. It's the bedrock the entire master key system is built on. And that's why understanding this core concept is so crucial before you even begin the practical stuff.
Okay, given this profound idea of disciplining thought and manifesting reality, this devil doesn't sound like a book you just read once and put on the shelf, does it? How is it structured to facilitate this deep inner transformation? Is it a quick read or something far more demanding?
You're absolutely right. Definitely not a quick read. In fact, that's one of its defining characteristics. It was originally published as a part work, meaning it was released incrementally, maybe weekly or monthly, over time, like a serialized course.
Like magazines used to do.
Exactly. The Amazon description mentions an abridged edition in 24 parts to include an opening analysis of each, with foreword, introduction by F.H. Burgess, and comprehensive glossary. This directly speaks to its methodical, sequential, very structured approach. It was designed to be consumed in stages, allowing for deep absorption, reflection, and most importantly, consistent practice. It's a curriculum, a system to follow, not just a narrative to enjoy.
So it's not a novel then. It's truly a progressive course, a curriculum for mental mastery. And what does that mean for the reader's actual experience? Is it like a school textbook or more like personal coaching? It sounds rigorous.
That distinction is crucial. This is perhaps the most critical instruction highlighted by multiple reviewers, and it's really worth emphasizing. You must not read this book like a novel. One reviewer even uses all caps to drive this point home. You will not benefit from it if you do. You must read each part several times for a whole week before going on to the next part.
Wow, okay. That's intense.
It is. This is a key insight into its intended application and the diligent effort it demands. It's not about finishing the book quickly. It's about engaging with the system deeply and repeatedly, letting each lesson saturate your consciousness. Another reviewer states, it gives you a part each week, which you must read one part a week and do the exercise in each part, and great things start happening. This vividly reinforces that sequential, week-by-week commitment required, like a fitness regimen. The book is less like a textbook you study and more like a training manual for your mind, requiring active participation and repetition for results. It's designed to fundamentally rewire your thought patterns, which, takes time and consistent effort.
That makes perfect sense, especially given the whole idea of disciplining thought and reshaping your inner world. It sounds less like passive reading and much more like active mental training. A workout regimen for the mind, like you said. Similar to training for a physical skill. What does this mental exercise actually entail?
Precisely. Each of the 24 stages of study includes a specific mental exercise meant to be actively practiced, often daily, throughout that week. The book also contains numbered, very precise propositions within each chapter. These are essentially core tenets or principles that build on one another, almost like axioms in geometry. Reviewers consistently commend its clear, easy instructions and describe the exercises as simple but effective, which is pretty remarkable given the profound concepts being explored. For example, the very first lesson, as described by a critic, is deceptively simple in its instruction. It's basically to sit down, be still, and let the universe take over.
Simple, but maybe not easy.
Exactly. This isn't just passive contemplation. It's active, focused stillness. A deliberate quieting of the conscious mind to begin opening up to that universal consciousness Haanel describes, and to allow new ideas and inspirations to emerge. It's the first step in learning to consciously direct your inner world.
So it's not just theory. It's hands-on practice, almost like a guided meditation or a specific mental drill you perform consistently over 7 days. It truly sounds like a system that demands serious commitment.
It absolutely demands it. Reviewers attest to the necessity of dedicated, consistent application, stating it takes time, a bit of application, and then bingo, a life. Another warns, you must use it correctly, otherwise you won't benefit from it. This isn't casual reading for entertainment or just passive consumption of information. It's an immersive, active program designed to elicit real change. This structured, sequential engagement with its weekly commitment and required mental exercises is central to Haanel's system. It's what fundamentally sets it apart from more casual self-help or law of attraction books. It truly positions itself as a curriculum for personal transformation, requiring you to do the work, not just read about it. The implication is clear. If you treat it like any other book, you simply won't experience the promised transformation.
Okay, so given this intense method, this commitment to weekly study and mental exercises, what's the overall consensus from the thousands of people who've actually read and applied it? What kind of results are they reporting? How do they generally feel about their investment of time and effort? Because it sounds like quite an investment.
It is, and the overall sentiment on Amazon is, frankly, overwhelmingly positive. The book holds a strong 4.5 out of 5 stars from a really significant number of ratings, 3,465 global ratings. When you break it down further, an impressive 74% of reviewers gave it a perfect 5 stars, with another 13% giving 4 stars.
Wow, that's what, 87% positive?
Exactly. 87% of readers found it to be a positive experience. That suggests a very satisfied majority who believe it genuinely delivers on its promises. This level of sustained positive feedback for a book that demands so much dedication is quite telling, I think.
That's a powerful endorsement, especially for a book requiring such a significant commitment. What are the common themes emerging from these reviews that make it so highly rated? What are people consistently praising about the Master Key system?
Well, Amazon's AI-generated summary of reviews actually highlights several consistent themes, gives a clear snapshot of its perceived strengths and impact. Firstly, it's consistently praised as thought-provoking. Customers find it incredibly awesome and thought-provoking. One described it as a deep study on harnessing individual truth and direction. Another said it was very eye-opening, suggests it provides profound new perspectives that challenge conventional thinking.
Right, it makes you think differently.
Exactly. It genuinely makes people think deeply about their own inner workings and their connection to the world. Often leads to significant personal insights. Secondly, despite its deeper philosophical underpinnings, it's still considered a top resource for the law of attraction. Readers describe it as one of the best books on the law of attraction, using phrases like best book for understanding the law of attraction, and even provably the best book on the law of attraction.
Interesting. So it bridges that gap.
It seems to. It indicates that while it goes beyond the superficial, it still effectively teaches and clarifies these principles in a way that resonates deeply with those seeking to understand manifestation. Thirdly, customers explicitly appreciate the Master Key system in the book, noting it goes into the Master Key system teachings in depth. This confirms that Haanel's structured, methodical approach is a key selling point. People appreciate the system itself.
They like the step-by-step nature.
Precisely. It's well received by those looking for a systematic path rather than just vague concepts. And finally, surprisingly, considering its depth and demanding nature, customers frequently praise its ease of application. They note the instructions clear and easy to follow, describing it as simple but effective.
That is surprising.
It speaks volumes about Haanel's ability to break down complex, abstract ideas into manageable, actionable steps. Steps that even a novice can begin to implement, provided they adhere to the discipline, of course.
It truly sounds like a book that genuinely changes people's lives, or at least profoundly impacts their perspective, leading to tangible results. I noticed Vicky called it fab, and a perfect compliment, highlighting how it works well with other systems. And another reviewer simply stated, "This book is a great help to me," which speaks to its practical utility, implies a sense of empowerment.
Yes, and that perceived transformative power is a recurring thread. It runs through many of the positive reviews. One reviewer even claims that Haanel claims that his system can revolutionize your life. And based on their own long experience with similar systems, they are emphatically convinced that it works. This isn't just about intellectual curiosity. It speaks to the profound life-altering potential perceived by its proponents. It indicates that for many, the Master Key system isn't just a book, but a powerful tool for initiating a personal revolution. The consistency of these claims is compelling.
But, okay, no book is perfect. especially one making such bold claims and requiring such intense commitment. We've heard overwhelmingly positive feedback, but what about the other side? What are some of the criticisms? Where did readers feel it fell short or even found it problematic? It's important to look at both sides, right?
Absolutely. While the overall sentiment is largely positive, there are certainly some recurring points of friction and notable criticisms. The primary one, noted by a few, is that it can be unnecessarily difficult to read, or difficult to read and understand at once. This connects directly back to that warning we discussed earlier, the one saying not to read it like a novel. It suggests some readers might struggle with its didactic, non-narrative style, or find the density of its propositions challenging if they don't follow the prescribed weekly study method.
Right, it demands a specific kind of engagement.
It really does. It isn't for everyone in that sense.
And then, on the complete other end of the spectrum, one reviewer, Thumb Tom, offers a really scathing critique. They don't just find it difficult, they call the book nonsense, mumbo-jumbo, and even link its promotional claims to deception and fraud. That's a stark contrast to the 87% positive ratings we just talked about. What are the specific points of their strong disagreement?
It is a stark contrast, yeah. And Thumb Tom's review delves into several specific, sharp criticisms, worth examining to understand that other perspective. Firstly, they take issue with Haanel's dogmatic language, questioning his laws and truths. The reviewer suggests these claims can be proven or disproven, asserting that all words are misunderstood, implying that any attempt to establish absolute truth through language is inherently flawed, maybe manipulative.
So they see it as rigid dogma, not verifiable principles.
Exactly. Secondly, there is a strong accusation of hypnotic inveiglement. The reviewer suggests Haanel, like hypnotists, tries to inveigle themselves into our subconscious through the repetitive nature and specific instructions. They issue a clear warning: be wary of mumbo-jumbo, which they define as a state of confusion, ritual accompanied by complicated and purposeless activity that obscures and confuses. They see the methods as potential manipulation, not empowerment.
That's a serious charge.
It is. Thirdly, they claim the book presents conflicting paths, stating it gives conflicting ways to reach the light. This suggests a perceived lack of coherence or clarity in the methodology for some readers, which can be incredibly frustrating if you're looking for a clear path. Fourth, Haanel himself is portrayed negatively, characterized as a salesman and a dictator. The reviewer uses that Charles Atlas course analogy, suggesting Haanel dictates, if you do not follow the steps in the right order, you will fail. Paints a picture of a rigid authoritarian system, coercive rather than empowering.
Implying no room for error or adaptation.
Pretty much. And finally, the reviewer dismisses certain circulation claims about the book. The idea that it sold over 200,000 copies and then seemingly disappeared or was banned by the church. They call this part of a hall of deception, suggesting these are marketing ploys or urban legends, not facts.
Wow, okay. It seems like the Master Key System is truly a book that divides opinions quite sharply then. Either it's this incredibly powerful, eye-opening, fundamental key to success and transformation, or it's viewed with deep skepticism, seen as potentially manipulative even. Very little middle ground, is there?
That's a crucial observation, yeah. It really highlights how personal and subjective the experience of engaging with this material can be. Customer feedback truly reveals that the perceived efficacy depends entirely on your prior beliefs about cause and effect and the power of thought. The overwhelmingly positive reviewers. They often already accept a Haanel-type analysis of cause and effect, meaning they're already open to the idea that thought actively creates reality, that there's a universal creative process. For them, the book provides a structured framework for what they intuitively believe.
Right, it confirms their worldview.
Exactly. Conversely, the skeptical ones, like Thumb Tom, clearly do not subscribe to that fundamental premise. They view it as unproven, maybe even fraudulent, leading to their strong rejection of the whole system. It speaks volumes about the prerequisite mindset required to even begin engaging with this material and how that initial alignment shapes the entire reading experience. It's a book that asks you to buy into its core premise before you can really unlock its potential.
So, considering all of this, the author's pragmatic business background, the deep philosophical premise of universal consciousness, the rigorous 24-part structure, and that sharply divided reader feedback, who would most benefit from picking up the Master Key System?
Yeah.
Who is this deep dive truly for? What kind of mindset should you bring to it if you're thinking about reading it?
Well, this deep dive is definitely for seekers of higher knowledge about thyself. Individuals on a journey of profound self-discovery, understanding their inner potential. It's also highly suitable for those interested in law of attraction theories and ideas, particularly if you're looking for something that goes beyond superficial explanations and dives into a more fundamental, systematic approach to manifestation.
Someone wanting the why and how, not just the what.
Precisely. If you believe that thought drives the material and are genuinely open to the idea of a universal creative process, you're likely to find it an extremely powerful and effective tool. It's for those looking for a higher purpose of life, and crucially for those who are willing to commit to a rigorous, disciplined study. It's for the dedicated student, not the casual browser. It appeals to a certain kind of disciplined, open-minded individual ready to put in the work.
It absolutely sounds like it demands a certain mindset and level of upfront commitment. It's not a book to just dip in and out of, is it?
Yeah.
It's more like a system to fully embrace and integrate into your life, like joining a specialized training program.
Exactly. This book is not for the casual reader looking for a quick fix, or a light novel to pass the time, or even a purely theoretical exploration. If you're skeptical about the idea of a universal creative process and do not believe that thought drives the material, you are not going to like the master key system. Your core worldview needs to align, at least somewhat, with its foundational premise. Otherwise, you'll likely dismiss it from the start.
Makes sense.
It's also not for those who dislike highly structured, prescriptive learning, especially given that intense instruction to read each part several times for a whole week before going on to the next part. If you prefer to skim, pick and choose chapters, or get easily frustrated by repetition and strict adherence, this book will likely frustrate you, and you won't get the intended benefit. It truly filters its audience by its very design.
Okay, so for our listeners who are ready to dive in, who feel this resonates with their mindset and willingness to commit, what are the concrete, actionable steps or methodologies presented in the book that they can expect to follow? What's the regimen actually like, practically speaking, week by week?
Right. The core methodology involves several non-negotiable elements. They're designed to build progressively, like layers of understanding. First, there's sequential study. You must follow the 24 stages of study in a specific, unyielding order. It's not designed for you to jump ahead or cherry-pick chapters. Each part meticulously builds on the last, creating a cumulative understanding and practice.
Like building blocks.
Exactly. Skipping ahead would be like trying to build a house, starting with the roof. The foundation just isn't there. Second, repeated reading is absolutely crucial. You're explicitly instructed to read each part several times a week. This isn't about speed reading or just comprehending the words. It's about internalizing the concepts until they permeate your subconscious. It's a saturation technique.
Designed to imprint the ideas deeply.
Exactly, changing your internal framework. Third, and perhaps most actively, you must engage with and perform the mental exercises provided in each part. These aren't passive suggestions, they are assignments. Daily practices meant to develop your mental faculties. Like we mentioned, the very first lesson is to sit down, be still, and let the universe take over. This seemingly simple instruction requires active, consistent practice to quiet the conscious mind, focus intent, and open yourself to new insights. These exercises are where theory meets practice.
The crucible, as you said.
Right. Finally, and underlying all of this, the book demands patience and persistence. It's repeatedly described as a long-haul approach, emphasizing you must not read this book like a novel and must dedicate a full week, sometimes more, to each part before moving on. This slow, deliberate pacing is integral. It allows principles to sink in, mental faculties to be trained, new habits of thought to form. It's about transformation over time, not instant gratification.
It's really presented as a rigorous regimen, isn't it? Much like that famous Charles Atlas course a reviewer mentioned for bodybuilding. That analogy of a subscription system getting a new lesson each week truly suggests a sustained, almost athletic effort is required. Definitely not a one-and-done read. It's a commitment to a process.
Yes, the book is explicitly designed to be followed like a bodybuilding course, implying that consistent, disciplined application over an extended period is the only path to what it promises, that great things start happening, achieving that life revolution. The value is unlocked, not just by reading the words, but by diligently practicing the principles. Day after day, week after week, it's about building mental muscle memory, rewiring your subconscious through deliberate, repeated action.
As we continue to unravel these fascinating connections, just a quick reminder to subscribe to the Deep Seek Diaries. And like this video if you're finding this deep dive valuable. Your engagement truly helps us share more insights and bring you more in-depth reviews like this. You can find us on all the major social media platforms, and all resources discussed are linked in the description for you.
It's also interesting to note what other books Amazon customers often browse or buy alongside the Master Key system. It gives us a strong sense of its intellectual neighborhood, confirms its relevance within a broader category. It essentially reveals what else appeals to its dedicated readership, showing where their interests lie beyond just Haanel's work.
Yeah, what are some of those titles that often accompany the Master Key system in people's digital shopping carts? It's almost like a peek into the minds of its readers, isn't it? What else are they exploring?
It's a very telling selection, actually. Confirms the enduring appeal of these core principles of manifestation and personal power. There's The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale, a classic audio program from the 50s, distilling the power of thought into that concise message about becoming what you think about.
A real classic.
Definitely. Then we have The Kybalion, Hermetic Philosophy by Three Initiates, an older, more esoteric text outlining 7 universal principles or laws, offers a deeper philosophical context for many new thought ideas. More contemporary, but still foundational in its approach, is Atomic Habits by James Clear, a huge bestseller.
Right, number 1.
Yeah. While seemingly different, it resonates with that idea of building consistent systems and small daily actions to create significant long-term results. A very Haanel-esque principle in a modern context, really.
It's a great connection.
Also popular are The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles, another early 20th century text positing a specific scientific method for attracting wealth through thought, and of course, The Secret by Rhonda Byrne, arguably the most popular modern book and film on the law of attraction. It reintroduced these concepts to a massive mainstream audience, albeit in a more simplified format.
That list powerfully confirms the Master Key system's enduring place, doesn't it? Among foundational texts on manifestation, self-improvement, understanding universal laws. It's truly fascinating how it bridges that gap from classic philosophical works like the Kybalion to modern habit-building bestsellers like Atomic Habits and popular guides like The Secret. It highlights that if you, our listeners, are interested in those popular books, you might find the Master Key system not just a fascinating historical precedent, but a deeper, more systematic dive into the very roots and mechanics of these concepts. Shows its continuous relevance, connects historical thought and contemporary applications, makes it a critical read for anyone serious about these topics, I'd say. So wrapping things up, what does this all mean for you, our listener? We've taken a really deep dive into Charles F. Haanel's The Master Key System, a book that has captivated thousands with its promises of life-changing insights, a practical system for harnessing individual creative power. It's clearly a foundational text for many in the realm of personal growth and manifestation, with a legacy stretching back over a century now.
We've seen it described as this profound exploration of universal consciousness, where thought isn't merely influential, but is believed to actively shape external reality. Its structured, 24-part approach, with those integral mental exercises and that strict weekly regimen, demands rigorous, consistent application. And critically, many reviewers credit this very discipline for initiating real-world positive change, truly transforming their lives, proving that, for them, it's a commitment that pays off significantly.
And yet, as we've also seen, it draws sharp criticism for its perceived dogmatism, potentially misleading claims, some calling it nonsense, mumbo-jumbo, questioning the very notion of its truth. It truly is a book that inspires both fervent beliefs and profound skepticism, reveals how deeply personal and subjective the journey of self-mastery and understanding universal laws can be, depending on where you're starting from.
And this raises an important final question for you, our listener. In a world overflowing with information, endless promises of self-mastery, countless books vying for your attention, can a century-old, highly structured system like the Master Key system truly unlock your individual truth and direction, as its most ardent proponents claim? Or does the very rigidity and dogmatic insistence of such a system, as some critics suggest, risk leading to a form of mental conditioning that actually limits true exploration and independent thought, rather than expanding it? It's a question worth mulling over, perhaps even exploring for yourself if you feel drawn to its powerful claims and are willing to make that commitment.
Yeah, it's all about what stands out to you when considering the power of thought, the mechanics of reality, and your own path to personal transformation. We truly hope you have enjoyed today's deep dive from the Deep Seek Diaries. Please don't forget to check out all the linked resources in the description section. They're there to help you continue your journey if you choose to. And if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe and like buttons as you head off. Until the next deep dive, goodbye.